Welcome to the Live Your Possible podcast, the show about sparking and discovering endless possibilities where we work, live, and play. A safe place where we can help you peel back the cover to what may be blocking you from being your most authentic and happiest self.
Welcome to today's podcast. I'm excited to get reunited with my friend Garry Ridge, the culture coach, chairman of Emeritus WD-40 company. I met Garry in Copenhagen, Denmark in 2018. He's a great guy. Definitely check it out. Garry has 25 years of experience as chairman and CEO of WD-40 company. He's a native of Australia. Mr. Ridge is also an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego, where he teaches the principles and practices of corporate culture in the Master of Science and Executive Leadership programs. Garry's philosophy on company culture is based on Aristotle's quote, "Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work." He also co-authored a book with Ken Blanchard outlining his effective leadership techniques, titling Helping People Win at Work, a business philosophy called Don't Mark My Paper, Help Me Get an A. Garry is an authentic leader, as authentic as you can get. He's on a mission to create happier workplaces, which leads to happier families and communities. He says he never has made a mistake in his life, which is worth finding out why that is. And tap into how Garry leverages people-first approach to lead WD-40 as a tribe with faith where results would most certainly follow. Sit back and find the learning moments from Garry Ridge as you pursue how to join the club in creating workplaces and communities where people want to run to. Enjoy the show. Good day, Garry Ridge. I appreciate you joining the show at Live Your Possible. Excited to be here. Great to see you again. I just can't believe you're getting touted in so many different facets. You're a top 10 named leader in the world, CEO leader of the world. You're a top 200 leader on the power list in 2023. You're also in the top 30 as far as culture and organizational, as far as coaching and how you're really influencing the world. I'm just honored to be here with you. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I think they're talking about someone else. That can't be me.
No, you're amazing. I tell you, the first time we met was, I think it was 2018. You were a keynote speaker at the Happiness at Work conference in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I got to tell you, I was a little nervous being from the States, going over there by myself. And we had to wear all these tags. And I remember walking to the first person that was in front of me. And I don't know if you remember this, it was you. And then I realized you were the keynote speaker, and I started to get really nervous. And what I appreciate about you is you are real, and you're just like the nicest guy. You're kind, you're welcoming, made me feel at ease. And you're just doing that for the world. So I appreciate you from the day I met you.
Well, thank you so much. As I've often said, life's a gift. Don't send it back unwrapped. And we need each other a lot. So, it's what we should be doing, is reaching out and helping people.
Yeah. And you're doing that. And I love how, we're at this Happiness at Work conference at that time. And you talk about how it's important to make an impact and make it a happier world, and how you're doing that through different forces. And to be honest, you're the first leader I've ever met that actually walked the talk about saying people first. So you really opened my eyes. You influenced my thinking. And really, I've made a lot of changes in my own leadership skills and what I've done since that day I met you and hearing your talk. Tell me a little bit more about how you view people first and how that's impacted your journey.
Yeah, sure. So, there's two things that are more important today than ever that people are really focused in on, is do I belong and do I matter? And one of the biggest desires we have as human beings is to belong, to be part of something. And I often say, imagine a place where you go to work every day, you make a contribution to something bigger than yourself, you learn something new, you're protected and set free by a compelling set of values, and you go home happy. And why that's important is happy people create happy families create happy communities, and happy communities create a happy world. And I don't think anybody would argue with me that we need a little bit, probably a lot of, more happiness in the world right now. So business touches so many people, Darren, every day. And, we need to create organizations and organizational cultures that people know they matter and feel like they belong. And I had the privilege and honor over 25 years as the CEO of WD-40 company, a public company, to work with some amazing people to create an amazing culture where 98% of the people say they love to tell people they work there. and with an employee engagement of 93%. The other reason that that's important is, Aristotle, who was born in 384 BC, said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. So if we can put pleasure in the job, we get perfection in the work. And over those 25-year period, as a company, we 6x'd our revenue and took our market cap from 300 million to over $2.5 billion. And we owe a lot of that to the power of the people, because it is all about the people.
Yes, I love every aspect of that, and that whole sense of flipping the order. So many leaders that I talk with will say, hey, the people are our greatest asset, yet the focus is on strategy and results. And you flip the order, basically saying, hey, the people drive all of that, drive the experience, drive the outcomes, and will drive the results. And I think you've openly talked about that being with a public company too. I believe that it's there's responsibility to the shareholders. Yeah, you owed it to the people first. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Well, if you think about it, you can have, Darren, the greatest strategy in the world. Let's you and I write a strategic plan. We can probably do that. Let's take it over to some smart professor and say, hey, professor, you mark up our strategic plan. And they say, good strategic plan. 50-50 chance, like most strategic plans are, of actually being successful. But if only 20% of the people that are in your organization that have the ability to execute on that plan are engaged, 20 times 50 is 1,000. But if 80% of your people go to work every day, are passionate about the purpose, are learning, as I said, and are free and empowered, 80 times 50 is 4,000. So I'm not sure why people don't get it, that it's the will of the people times the strategy that delivers the best outcome.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward the way you laid it out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, duh.
It's pretty fascinating. I'm currently working with a client that has some folks. We're doing some interviews and some focus groups, and some folks will say, gosh, when people are missing or if they're not doing their role, I have to step in. And I just have to show this picture from that conference. You talk about the tribe comes first, and I think it relates to that comment I just made, where I'd love for you to talk about that. What does that mean to you? Because that's something that at this conference we had to write out our top phrases from the speakers. That was my top one of what you said. I'd love for you to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so, the tribe comes first really goes back to that desire, want, need that we all have as human beings to belong. And, we're tribal by nature. We called ourselves a tribe, not a team at WD-40, not to leverage any of the ancestral, assets of Indigenous people, but to reflect that as a human race, we are tribal. It goes all the way back, Darren, to Ugg the caveman. He was a member of a tribe. So if you think about a tribe, it's a place where people can belong. It's somewhere where learning and teaching is so important. If you think about the number one responsibility of a tribal leader, it is to be a learner and a teacher. If I was to reflect on, my home country, Australia, the Indigenous people of Australia thousands of years ago, if we were to be there observing a tribal meeting, what would the tribal leader be doing? They would be teaching the younger tribe members to throw a boomerang. Why? Because the boomerang was the tool of survival. So if we weren't learners and teachers as leaders, we wouldn't be helping our tribe succeed. So, in the book I wrote with Ken Blanchard, which is called Helping People Win at Work, we say we're not here to mark your paper, we're here to help you get an A. So our job as leaders is not to mark people's papers, it's to be great coaches and help people get A's. So the whole basis of a tribe is you belong, you're working towards a common goal, you have a just cause together, there's love and understanding and care. All of that stuff comes together. So if you get the tribe right, then there's a chance you can execute on the strategy, and there's a chance you'll deliver, the rewards to the tribe and to the people who trust you with their investment.
Yeah, I appreciate many aspects and elements of that: love for each other, being like a family, being able to contribute to something greater. You said earlier, be able to contribute to the team. In the team I'm working with currently, it's almost like there's a lack of, I'm going to drop what's on my desk today to really help out the greater good of our team. And that's what you're talking about here. And that's where cultures come together to something greater with bigger purpose, bigger meaning, and then bigger impacts too. People are contributing and belonging in unique ways.
We used to say we're a group of people that come together to protect and feed each other. That was our just cause. And it's interesting, we went through COVID together, and I was still chairman and CEO at that time. I only stepped away from that role last August after 25 years. But halfway through COVID, January 2021, and I said to our leadership group, we need to go and just make sure we're not draining cultural equity, because the environment is so different right now. And just before COVID had started, we'd completed our regular employee opinion survey. And the results were, up there where they'd been for the prior year. So we were feeling pretty good about the culture. So we went out in January 2021. Now, Darren, in January 2021, as you may recall, we weren't even confident that we were going to have a vaccine, nor were we confident that we'd actually understood what this COVID thing was. So we went out and did the survey. And one result came back, and I went, wow, that number is surprising to me. And it was 98% of our people said they were excited about their place in the company's future. And I said, that can't be right. How can people be excited about their place in the company's future? We don't even know if the world's going to exist. And we dug in to that number. And here's what we learned. People said, we feel safe. If we have to be anywhere right now, we are feeling safe being here, because we are, not just by words, but by acts and deeds, coming together to protect and feed each other. And I went, wow, that's what the power of a tribe is.
Yeah, setting a culture of joy and trust and love. You're really helping each other out. I think there's been ups and downs at WD-40, and I recall you've put out questions out to all the employees. How do we want to solve this, rather than just come from the top? And I appreciate that approach. You're really engaging and asking folks to contribute in a way that's going to do exactly what you just said. It's powerful.
Well, I need all the help I can get. The three most important words I ever learned in my life were, I don't know. And I used to introduce myself when I was in my role as, g'day, I'm Garry Ridge. I'm the consciously incompetent, probably wrong and roughly right chairman and CEO of WD-40 Company, because that was true. I was probably wrong and roughly right. So I needed all the help I could get. And to get help, you have to win people's trust, and you have to ask for it. Hey, help me out here. I don't have all the answers. I need your help.
Yeah, I love your approach. Very authentic, vulnerable. It's not what I would say here in the States. We've been taught as leaders, you can't say I don't know, and you're not supposed to ask for help. And albeit I see that's changing in what you're doing as a culture coach, and how you're out there with Ken in the book, and many things you're doing. You're helping people slow down to learn what it means to be a servant leader, and really coach up and help their people thrive in the workplace.
Yeah. Well, you think about the role of a coach, right? There's some attributes of a coach in a business that are really important. Number one, the coach does not run on the field and try and kick the ball. Number two, the coach never goes to the podium to pick up the prize. What is a coach there to do? Firstly, the coach's responsibility is, do I understand what it takes to win this game? Number one. And two, do I understand the rules that have to be played to help us win this game? So then the coach does two things: spends a lot of time on the sideline observing the play, and being brave enough to go to the players that they're coaching and say, Darren, I saw you take that ball. I saw you take that kick. May I suggest to you that this might have been a different way to play? And if you did, we may have had a better result. And then secondly, they spend a lot of time in the locker room. And what are they doing in the locker room? They're building trust, bringing the team together, building camaraderie, engaging in collaboration, all of those things. So that's the job of a coach. Now, unfortunately, I've introduced you to this person a couple of times. You know who this is, right?
That's Al.
Al,
Welcome,
or
Al.
that could be Al, or it could be Alice. That person is the soul-sucking CEO of Fear Inc. And they don't know how, he or she doesn't know how to be a great coach. They love to micromanage. They must always be right. They always have the answers. They hate feedback. They think they're corporate royalty. All of these things. They go to the podium to pick up the prize. What do you think that does to the culture? It actually destroys the culture. So, out there, we don't need a lot of Al and Alice leadership of people who are not there to be servant leaders and coaches. We need servant leaders and coaches. And the other thing we've got to be really, really conscious of is sometimes we protect our own comfort zone at the expense of other people's development. And that's a bad coach. The bad coach says, I'm not going to go and have that conversation because I'm going to protect my comfort zone. And that's not helping the team nor the player win.
Yeah, I'll admit 7-8 years ago, I was probably in that space before I recognized I needed to drop my ego and protect my own interest and to understand that it is the safe environment that I want to live in and create. I need to be part of that creation. I can't wait for it to happen. Mm-hmm. I need to really evolve. Like having that experience with you at the Copenhagen, Denmark conference, learning from you and Richard Sheridan, OC Tanner does amazing work too. Just, the Purpose Summit that I know you're part of. All these elements really help us to really get real, get authentic, live with a higher purpose, not a purpose to save ourselves or to really stroke our own ego. It's really about empathy. And I know you talk about that as well, as far as Al or Alice, how we have to really drop our egos and let empathy take over.
Yeah, well, Al or Alice's ego eats their empathy instead of their empathy eating their ego. And you mentioned the Purpose Summit. I hope I'll see you there. It's in May at Notre Dame. It's going to be a fabulous event. Davin is putting a great program together. And, I was there last year and I walked away with goosebumps because we were able to really get together with people and show them that purpose-driven organizations provide the platform for not only great, performance, but people really matter and they go home happy and make a difference in the world. So it's going to be a great event in May at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I've talked to him as well, and I hope to make it. I haven't committed yet, so I should do that when we get off the call here. I look forward to it. I can't wait to see what comes out of that. And as part of I wrote a book called Live Your Possible. I have you in the book several times. One is around purpose-driven beliefs is the chapter, and I really highlight you because it allows us to get outside of what we think is our immediate bubble, and it's making sure we expand on that and really invite the world in. And that's the part where I think you had a bigger influence on me, is to meet people where they are and invite people in together. It's not about meeting people where I am. It's about going where people are. And then you talk about coaching and teaching. And I've had to make a shift on accepting when coaching is yelling and telling versus actually teaching and coaching. We all know leaders that are that way, trying to give you the tough love, feeling uncomfortable, rather than what you've been talking about, which is creating safety. Working with empathy, meeting people where they are, having people contribute to something bigger. And you talk about learning, and I'd love to learn a little bit more from you about how you talk about learning moments, how you get into that space with people, and how you make it safe for people to treat mistakes and other things like learning moments.
Yeah. So one of the biggest disablers we have in life is fear, right? And in organizations, I never witnessed a lot of people running around saying, I feel really good. I made a mistake. I failed. That wasn't happening. But what we knew that in organizations, everything doesn't go right, and nor should it. Like if you think about the best hitters in baseball, out of 1,000 balls, how many do they hit? Like 300 and something? I don't know what the number is, right? So why are we creating this environment where people, what I call fake and hide? See, I don't think I have this definition of candor: no lying, no faking, no hiding. I believe most people don't lie. I believe most people fake and hide. Why do they fake and hide? Because of fear. So Who, in their right mind, would want to create an environment that encourages people to fake and hide? Well, I know who. Al, the soul-sucking CEO, does. So we said, let's take this fear of failure out and let's turn what is seen as failure into the catalyst for learning. So we said, okay, we're going to take the word failure out. We don't make mistakes. I was speaking to a group of people this week at a company that I was doing some work with, and I got up and said, I'm going to make a statement that's going to floor you. And I said, I have never made a mistake in my whole life. And the kind of audience went, I said, however, I've had millions of learning moments. And let me tell you what a learning moment is. A learning moment is a positive or negative outcome of any situation that needs to be openly and freely shared to benefit all people. And that was what it was important. That's what it was important. So let's not make mistakes. Let's have learning moments.
Yeah, and openly sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how you learn, right? From the good and the bad and how we do better. Gary, how did you get to this point with your beliefs and people first and learning moments? You know, was it your childhood, or were there some learning moments along the way throughout your career? Like, how did you get to this place?
So basically what it was is I really came to the conclusion that I didn't know everything. I didn't know everything. And I was in a situation where I said, if I'm going to try and build an organization, then I need all the help I can get. And I said, okay, get comfortable with that. Get comfortable with being that way. That's what was so important.
How about your upbringing? Would you have some influence from your upbringing in Australia? Were there certain beliefs maybe that influenced how you might have impacted globally and here in the US? Are there things that?
Oh, yeah. You know, I was very lucky as I was growing up that I had a lot of people around me that really showed me the value of learning, whether it was, you know, working in the local sporting goods store or the hardware store or the dry cleaning store, and watching them do what they did was so beneficial to me. So yeah, there was just a lot that I found that helped me as I was, you know, growing up in Australia.
That's great. And as far as learning moments for yourself, are there any that you're willing to share that was something that was worth sharing with folks that you worked with, that was just monumental to you, or maybe to the group, or something that really moved you?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple. You know, one of the big aha moments I had was when I read some of the work of the Dalai Lama. And I read this statement: our purpose in life is to make people happy. If we can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them. And what I realized was around in organizations, there were a lot of people hurting each other. So how could we create an environment where that wasn't happening? The other side you were mentioning, which I think is so important, is, you know, I also, like you, at some stage in my life, was protecting my own comfort zone at the expense of someone else's development. And I'll tell you a true story how, you know, using one of our values to its benefit helped me there. The second value at WD-40 Company is we value creating positive, lasting memories in all of our relationships. And I was in a meeting some time back, a few years back now, but I can remember it vividly, where one of the leaders in the meeting that morning, it was an early morning, was not creating a positive, lasting memory. So what do you do as the leader of that meeting? Well, you know, Al would do this. Al would stop the meeting, reprimand the person, probably, you know, talk them down a little bit. That doesn't work, because everyone else, that person that you've kind of redirected publicly, feels embarrassed. And everyone else in the room says, uh-oh, one day I'm going to be that person. Al's going to shoot me. The second thing is you do nothing. That doesn't work either, because, you know, you haven't had the opportunity. That's when you're protecting your own comfort zone. So when the meeting ended, I said to this person, hey, Darren, let's go for a walk. And we walked out of our building. And I looked behind a car, and I looked in a trash can, I looked behind a tree. And Darren says to me, what the hell are you doing? And I said, Darren, the you I know and love, who lives our values every day, was not in that room this morning. What's on your mind? What's getting in your way? So that opened the conversation, and we had a nice conversation. And, I learned that what was disturbing him was insignificant, et cetera, et cetera. Anyhow, I was able to have that coaching conversation because I didn't run on the field. I was on the sideline, and now I was with him in the locker room. And it was a great conversation. I noticed him go back into the office later on, and he went to a couple of people that were at the meeting and said, "Hey, sorry." And they said, "We know that wasn't you. You okay?" The next day, they were going to that person and saying, "Hey, just wanted to check in on you. Are you okay?" So there's the tribe, that group of people who come together to protect and feed each other, acting within the bounds of our values that were protecting us and setting us free, and we were being coaches. So all of that magic came together. So it works.
Yeah, that's priceless to have teammates, colleagues pick each other up.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's been lots of moments over the last several years where, economically there's risk, or the pandemic, or what have you, or just not having a good day, and people having the trust that the intentions are good. I think that's an element too, that, knowing people are going to be open and clear and working together with good intentions, assuming good intentions. I think you've talked about crucial conversations in the past when I've talked with you, as far as understanding, hey, how do we show up today? Are we assuming the good, or are we assuming the person's out to get me? And the way you approached that coaching situation is you had a pretty good intent to try to bring out the best in that person, not looking to light that person up in a bad way. You're really there looking out for them.
And that's our responsibility. And, I have a little sticky note on my computer here, and I have it on my notebook over there. And it says, "Am I being the person I want to be right now?" And then it lists who is that person. And I have to believe it or not, at my age, and after, being the CEO of a public company for 25 years, I still have to rely on a little sticky note to keep me centered. And it says, who is that person? And this is the person that I have to remind myself I want to be. I want to be grateful, caring, empathetic, reasonable, a listener, fact-based, have a balanced opinion, be curious, be a learner, and throw sunshine, not a shadow. So why do I need the list? Because in leadership, we get pulled out of where we want to be pretty easily. The world yanks at us, and we have to continue to, bring ourselves back and center ourselves, which is really important.
Now, did that list just come together at once, or did that come together over a period of time for you?
Interestingly enough, it came together with a lot of thought. Of Marshall Goldsmith, I'm sure. He's, one of the, if not the premium coach in the world. He's a friend, and I've done a number of things with him. And we're in a program called the Life Plan Review, and you answered the questions, did I do my best to today? And one of the questions was, did I do my best to find meaning? And I thought to myself, what does meaning really mean? And I started to think about it a lot. And then eventually I played with the words of who do I want to be? So it took me a little while to going through that process with Marshall, and then reflecting, and then coming up with the list that I have today. And, I got a warm heart this morning. I was at a company this week, as I mentioned, and I was talking to one of their leaders about this list. And they said, could you give me a copy of it? And I did. And this morning I got an email, and it had a picture of a little heart in it. And this person had created their own list, not my words, and put it on their computer and said, thank you. And I thought, wow, that was worth it.
Yeah, impacting one person at a time is a ripple effect for many after, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So I think it's beautiful. Yeah, the words mean something, especially when you put value on them and keep them top of mind. And I love that you have the sticky note. I think we all need a sticky note on our desktops to remind us. And like you said, sometimes we get distracted, or we get positioned away from that. How would you encourage a leader to start their list? How would you encourage a leader to start accepting and trying some things out related to people first and the things you've done? I know you have an article that I'm going to send a link to, which is about the Great Escape. There's some good tips in there. So that I think it's a wonderful one. And maybe there's some tips out of there as well Yeah. Do you feel there's some things that you could help our listeners that really want to start down this path? Because it does take a little bit of work. And I've heard you talk about the difference between easy and simple, and
Yeah.
how you could really help us encourage what that might look like. That'd be super helpful.
Yeah, I say this is simple, not easy, and time isn't your friend. And I think that if a leader comes to the conclusion that our role in life is to help people step into the better version of their personal self, if our role in life is to help others, if we as leaders walking down this leadership path can just hold on to someone's elbow for a little while and help them walk a little further, then we've done our job as human beings. So the first thing I would suggest is think about the statement of Dalai Lama. Our purpose in life is to make people happy. If we can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them. So make yourself a list of what you're going to do not to hurt people. And then start living it. Ask yourself those questions every day. Look yourself in the mirror and just ask yourself those questions. Who do I want to be? Ken Blanchard has a great process. He says, write your obituary. Now live to it.
Yeah, that's good. How is it working with Ken? I know you
I
wrote the
love
book
him.
together. Yeah.
I love him. He's one of the most dearest people in my life. He's 83 years old right now, and he's just one of the most giving, sincere servant people I've ever met. My life would not be what it is today if I hadn't have had the opportunity to meet and be with and become very dear friends with Ken.
It's fascinating how folks like yourself, like Ken, my mentor that I talk with a lot, I think Richard Sheridan, all of you
great guy.
are paying it forward. Great guy. You all pay it forward because you see there is the opportunity to have that ripple effect as you're looking to make others better, stronger, happier, and everything you mentioned about families and communities. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility, and it's an honor to do that type of work and to give back. And my commitment is to do the same.
Thank you. We need more of the people in the movement. And, as Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible till it's done. So let's make it possible.
That's beautiful. What's ahead for you? And, how can we get folks to line up with you? And I know you have the learning moment. You're currently the chairman with WD-40. You're doing the Purpose Summit. Like, what's ahead, and what can we look out for, with you, and how could we work with you down the road?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm chairman emeritus of WD-40 now, which means I have no authority, no responsibility, but I can go to any party I like. So that's great. And I'm doing, I'm coaching CEOs. I'm just finished the proposal for my new book, which is called Any Dumb Ass Can Do It. That's something. Yeah. I'm doing what I can to help leaders be aware. That's why I'm here with you. And I'm so grateful that you're helping me and you and I together get the message out there that we can make a difference in the world by, creating cultures where people actually like going to work and feel fulfilled. So, but follow me on LinkedIn. I post on LinkedIn all the time and just trying to get the word of learning out there, exposing my scar tissue as much as I can because I have plenty of it. So that's what I'm working at.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all that. And, in particular, the scar tissue, it's so important to be vulnerable and courageous to doing that in the spirit of learning and helping make it safe for others as you do every day by example. I know you have hundreds of thousands of followers. I noticed, and I said to myself, I'm like, is that important? And what I thought about is, I think those followers are believers. And if we're all believers, if we could add more believers to what we're talking about, could you imagine what we could do to society and our world every day if we could get more people thinking about happiness and empathy, and I'll say inclusion, because all the work that you're doing is really bringing people together and being more inclusive and open-minded with curiosity.
Absolutely. Yeah, life's a gift. Don't send it back unwrapped.
Yeah, I love it. Is there anything else, Garry, you'd like to share with our audience today? No,
I just want to thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing and appreciate you. And I thank you for helping get the word out there. And it was an absolute gratitude moment that I got to meet you. And now I'm so pleased to see you carrying the flag out there and continuing to let people know what we can do to make a difference. So you get my yay for the day.
I appreciate that. And I got to say thank you again. It's such an honor to work with you and be on this call again today. And you really moved me back in 2018. And I tell you, you're a big part of the change that I made when you read chapter 14 of my book and some of the changes I'm making out there. You're one of the influences, yourself and Rich and some others that I've mentioned. So I am carrying the torch. I admire what you're doing, and I had a front row seat when I was at the conference in 2018, and I still have a front row seat watching you go, and I'm supporting there. I'm a big believer and a big fan, and will continue to carry the torch. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in May.
Yeah, please be there. Thanks very much for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Take care. I love being in the presence of Garry Ridge. I love being in the front row seat of his work. I'm a true believer. Garry has been on a mission to create more happiness in this world for over 25 years, probably longer, and leads by example in everything he does. He is improving our world by giving humanity a chance to thrive daily. I am honored to be influenced by his thinking and to carry the torch with him. Join us on this mission. He checks his sticky note every day, the leader he wants to be. What a great idea for us to follow. Write down 1 to 3 words on a sticky note about what you want to be known for as a leader, and actively self-reflect on this throughout the day. Put this note on your PC. Put the sticky note up on your PC or your laptop. Keep it close. Keep it close to your heart as you lead with purpose. Again, as you inspect and self-reflect, please don't beat yourself up and treat it as a learning moment. To be honest with yourself with a greater purpose, to serve others with empathy and care. When you feel comfortable, openly share what it is you're learning. Make it safe for others to do the same as you courageously talk about what you're learning and how you're being as the leader you want to become, as your authentic self. Also, try using the words, I don't know, more often, and even invite people to the table to help you resolve issues together like Garry did. Garry reinforces what matters at work. The cultures that work as a tribe and a team are there for each other through the good and bad times. And he has so many wonderful examples that he has shared. Let's follow Garry, take a look at his articles, check him out at the Purpose Summit. Really take the time to think about how you can make an impact today, because it starts with each of us, not only at work, but in our communities and our families too. Be the leader you want to be, and always remember to ignite your happy, authentic self and live your possible.
That's all for today's episode. If you liked the show, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Live Your Possible dares to unlock your fullest potential and become an avenue for others to do the same. Join the community by visiting ignitehappy.com. It's time to discover endless possibilities with equal opportunity for all. See you again next week for more insights on how you can live your possible.